You're still watching Campus 360 with me, Diana Nutriga. Now, Dr. Thelma Ohene-Adjei, a lecturer at the Department of Pharmacy of the University of Ghana, is one of the quiz mistresses for the National Science and Maths Quiz Competition. It all started in 2019 when she was invited to be a part of the mentorship session, one of the pre-national competition events. On our focus today, Dr. Thelma Ohene-Adjei shares with our colleague Manuel Quantin how few hours turned into an annual quiz mistress.
So the name Dr. Thelma Ohene-Adjei. Yes. Okay, is that the maiden name? That the name you were born
yes,
with?
That's the name my father gave to me.
Okay, you're not married, I suppose.
I'm married. My husband's name is Accraghana, but I don't use that officially.
Okay. So tell me, I mean, how did you get here? Is this something that you've been really wanting to do? You know, Eureka, LC, all of them, and then now we are hearing Thelma.
So not to be a quiz mistress per se, but I've always had a lot of love and interest in the science and maths quiz, because I remember when I was a child, and this is a story I've said many times. When I was a child, I religiously watched Professor Iramadi, and she was my role model. In my mind, I was probably 11, 12, a teenager. In my mind, she was the smartest person I know. This was a woman who sat on stage and could give questions from physics, biology, chemistry, maths. And in my young mind, she knew all the answers. Then I didn't have the background that they were consultants. In my mind, she set the questions, presented them, knew the answers. I thought, wow, this was wild. So I knew I wanted to be a scientist like this woman. And so a lot of my love and interest for science came from that, watching the science and maths quiz. Because for me, a woman being called professor, knowing all these things, and I always say that is why representation is very important, because in a child's mind, if they see something they want to be happening, they believe they can also do it. So this is how I started. I went to secondary school, did science.
What school was that?
I went to Wesley Girls High School in Cape Coast.
Oh, I see. So you must have eventually competed for Wesley Girls, no?
Unfortunately not. In Wesley Girls, I wasn't that one of the top, I think. I mean, yeah, at the time. So there were probably people who were more equipped to be part of the NSMQ than for me.
This is what year?
I finished Wesley Girls in 2002. Okay. 2002, yeah. So I went to Wesley Girls, studied science. I went to university. I came to KNEST, studied pharmacy. And then when I finished pharmacy school, at that time, I knew I wanted to teach. I wanted to teach somehow. So I then did my master's still in KNEST. I had my master's in pharmacology, and then decided to do a PhD. So then I went to the UK, the University of Cambridge, to do a PhD. So this was it. So after my years of watching Professor Iramadi, I was still interested in the science and maths, but not as much, because then I was in school doing
a lot more responsibilities.
Exactly. So then I had lost that. But in 2016, I had finished my PhD. I was back in Ghana. And I got an invitation from the National Science and Maths Quiz to come on as a mentor. I was like, well, why not? This is something I've loved all along. And if they find me interesting enough or have a story to share, why not? So I accepted. I came, and it was one of my best experiences ever. I remember so clearly. I told them my story, how I've ended up where I am. And then I just started working at the University of Ghana. And after that, I said, they should ask questions. So there were a lot of questions. One student, now I don't remember who, but a young girl got up and said, Dr. Thelma, you know what? I've never had a role model, but from today you are my role model. And I was just blown away. Because this was me as a young person, having Prof. Iramadi as my role model, and then a student telling me that. So then I started following the NSMQ again, because it was also happening on Legon campus. So if there was a school I found interesting, I'd just go and sit in. The second year, they asked me again to come back as a mentor. I went. And then a year later, I had a message from the MD of Primetime saying, do I think I'll be interested in being a quiz mistress? I'm like, why not? Of course I will be. She said, okay.
At least a chance to be Professor Iramadi, even momentarily.
Exactly. Even if it's for a short period. So I said, why not? Then I actually had a little baby. My baby was 2 months. So she said, let's hold on, and then we'll have you next year. I said, whenever you have me, I'll be there. A week or two later, she called and said, do you think you can actually start this year? I was like, I can. So with my 3-month-old baby, I started as a quiz mistress.
You're kidding me?
Yep. So they actually provided a room for me where I could breastfeed him on breaks and stuff. But yeah, it was a good first year. So this was 2019. Yeah, when I started as a quiz mistress.
But how has it been? I'd want to. You've mentioned representation. and I want to find out your thoughts about the winning pattern. We've not seen any all-female school, at least, win just yet. We'll talk about that briefly. But how has it been? You started with a 3-month-old baby. Well, and I'm sure the baby is no longer a baby.
No, he's not a baby. He's a big boy now. Yeah. No, so for me, I love a lot of things about the NSMQ, and I always also say this, one of my best things is the representation it shows. The fact that the quiz mistresses are women, or the people who moderate the quizzes are women. There's a message is sent out, and I'm sure we all know how Ghanaians and even Africans and even all world over we feel about women in sciences. We feel that science is a difficult area, and so it's more masculine. But when you see people who are doing the things you want to do, you know and believe you can also do it. And every time I've been anywhere in this country, my best times are when young girls walk up to me and say, "You are my role model, I want to be like you. How did it get here?" Sometimes they take my number, they are in touch. It's just, I always say it's a chain reaction Professor Ramadi started, which I hope doesn't end with me. I hope one of the students I'm speaking to at this point in another 10 or 20 years is also a professor somewhere. Actually, the very interesting story that happened a few weeks ago was, I wasn't in the office. My boss called me once and said that you have a very special visitor. I'm like, who is looking for me? She said, there's a 6-year-old and her father looking for you. How? The 6-year-old saw me on TV and said she wanted to be a professor.
Wow.
So the father came to Legon, had been coming for about 3 times to look for me. And I was blown away. I was like, there's something to this thing we are doing. So representation, it's important. It's absolutely important.
This must be impacting people in more ways than you're actually seeing.
Yeah, I think there's more than the celebration of schools that have won. That's fine. That's excellent when schools win and they are happy. But there's also a lot more we are doing. The National Science and Maths Quiz is showing about science education, the role of women in science. And for me, that is even more significant and as important as the winning schools.
The reality, at least in our dispensation, is that, I went to, junior high school like everybody did. You had really bright ladies, in class. And then eventually when you move up into the high school level, the number reduces. And it's like, more of the boys are actually progressing and the girls are reducing. And go to the university, that pattern continues and the girls are, falling off by the wayside. What really is a problem?
So a lot of times when I talk about gender issues and equality in the genders when it comes to education, people always say, oh, that's not true now. We did this, send your girl child to school, so there are a lot of girls in school, so it's no longer a problem. And I always tell them exactly what you said. Just look, as we progress across the education ladder, girls fall off and off and off. You could start at nursery or class 1 with equal numbers, sometimes even more girls. By the time you get to maybe the level of PhD or professor, there are always more men than women. And it's not because the girls are not bright or intelligent. You know that many times there are a lot more intelligent girls, or at least of equal intelligence. But there are a lot of societal notions and pressures on girls that seem to let them drop off. I read this article actually in Pakistan where they train a lot of doctors, but in the end the girls get married and don't practice anymore. So the medical school is actually very worried about this trend. And it happens everywhere, sometimes to lesser levels. So it's a big issue and it's not just even in science. Across our education, girls fall off because at some point they are thinking about marriage, childbirth, societal notions, even at the workplace. I think that women will just go on maternity leave and just waste our money. So I'd rather hire a man. So these things they are common. They are issues we need to admit and then address.
So does that feed into the notion that, well, if you're going to really make it as a girl, then perhaps you don't have a social life, you don't have any extracurricular activity that you're doing, you'd have to be buried in your books and make sure that you are making straight A's, don't get distracted. Is that really the picture, what really is on the ground? Because, boys, you go for parties, go and play soccer, do all the other things that you can do, and you still get through. But the girls would have to stick to it.
I'm the living example that is not true. I am not always looking into my books without any social life.
Like party?
Not really. I'm not that much of an extrovert, but I am definitely not always looking into my books. I like hanging out with my friends. I like fashion. Actually, from here, I'm just going to KJT just to go and shop.
I see.
Yeah. It's part of my plan.
Take me away with you.
And it's fufu. And this is why I also believe that women who have found themselves in certain places should tell their stories. It's a notion that you should be serious, always, but that's not true. We want to raise young people and girls and our boys as well who are balanced. So it's not just about to be a wholesome or a whole human being. It's not just about academics. You need a good spiritual life, a good social life, everything, emotional. So it's important that we raise people to be smart. It's good to be intelligent, to focus on their books, but also to focus on friendships, relationships, their social life. They are equally important.
So we're having a quick conversation with Dr. Thelma Oheneje at the University of Ghana's School of Pharmacy. She's been telling us about her her development as a girl child, the school she went to, what's been motivating her, and so on and so forth. Would you say that your upbringing, had a direct link to what you've turned out to be? Are you from a home of academics,
No. My family, my dad is a chemical engineer, so he's worked on the mines. My mom is a baker, but growing up, they were both absolutely committed to our education, and a lot of my love for science, even though it came from Professor Ramadi, a lot of the seeds were also developed by my father. My father encouraged us to read, to ask questions, to explore the world, and also even my confidence as a human being. My father always told me there's nothing a boy can do that you can't do. Like, you can go anywhere in this world, you can do anything. So I grew up with that mindset that the only thing that will challenge me is the challenges I put on myself and nobody else. So
now let's talk specifics. Wesley Girls, for a number of years, you couldn't have mentioned top 3 high schools in Ghana without mentioning Wesley Girls. And at least in that stint, we should have seen Wesley Girls clinging onto the trophy of the National Science and Maths Quiz. If it didn't happen then, well, I don't know when it's going to happen. But what's the problem with the girls' schools?
This is the $1 million question I ask and I'm always asked. So I'm not sure, and this is just my opinion or guesses that I've made. Even moderating the quiz, I think what I have seen, probably the girls lack is a bit of the daring nature. That I don't think it is in the quality of education they have or the level of intelligence. I absolutely don't believe that. And I always say there's WASSCE results to prove that we leave the National Science and Maths Quiz, and the students who get the 8As and who get brilliant results are not only boys, they are girls as well. What I have seen is there's a certain level of dare that the boys have that I think the girls don't have. The girls are more, they want to be very sure, very confident about their answer. Exactly. But it also happens that with this quiz, you need to dare. Sometimes you just have to risk it. So whenever I've spoken to some of the girls, I think it's a lot more about building their confidence that this is a quiz, it's a take your chance. So yeah, I think that is where the issue is coming from.
Maybe we need a project. Get the trophy to the girls.
I am looking forward to that day. That will be the happiest day in my life. Any girls. When St. Louis won the Ethel Tigo award for the day, that day I said they were my favorite school because they were just brilliant on the day. And yeah.
And just because you've mentioned that, say something I was going to talk to you about. What's the experience like moderating the quiz with a lot of interest? At least 3 competing interests with high stakes. It's not just the students who are sometimes filling up the entire auditorium. Their entire alumni base is watching, and they have interest, and they are coming at you on social media. Madam Quiz Mistress, they are cheating. And how do you take it all in?
I used to religiously read all the comments on social media, and sometimes when I see some comments, I'm back. So one of the days I did this, and I spoke to Mr. Yankee of Primetime. I said, Amma, don't spend any time there. These are people who are very biased. And they cannot see their because, and I understand, everybody wants their school to win. Before I became a moderator, I would follow Wesley Girls competitions religiously. Now I've taken a step back because I don't want to have any interest in that, so I can be non-biased. So I don't read the comments anymore, and I perfectly understand. If I was a teacher training my students for a whole year, if you give them 1 mark less, I would want to know why. So I understand them and I appreciate them. And sometimes the teachers come to me, they complain. Sometimes they come and commend you that, I'm happy with how you moderated. Sometimes they say, I'm not happy at all. And for all of this, I know it's part of the game. So I take it in my stride. And then I try as much as possible to be fair. And yeah, because I don't...
What's the most difficult, assignment, if you like, encounter that you've had?
I'm sure a lot, but what quickly comes to mind was yesterday's competition between Ifwakobi, Kumasi High, and then Edu Jemfi. So clearly I thought I had heard something, but then I wanted to be sure because that was a deciding riddle. So I wanted to be sure of the spelling. And so, and I know there's been a lot of talk about, some people say, but the National Science and Maths quiz is not a spelling bee. Of course it's not a spelling bee, but as a scientist, if you know the word, you should know how to spell it, especially because if they are different things. So I can understand how mad people are because that competition was decided just on the basis of that riddle. So yeah, for me, I really appreciated where the teachers are coming from, and then there have been talks of why wasn't the riddle just replaced with a biology riddle? Why did it have to be another riddle? But my point is, as a scientist, you are not just a biologist. You are studying science, so it's maths, physics, chemistry, and biology. But I think these are things that also prime time would have to talk to the teachers about, so there are specific rules. If a riddle is being replaced, should it be specifically from the subject area? So these are things that happen, and it helps us to improve the quiz. So I'm happy with all of these things. Yeah.
What are the prospects for this year's competition? It was difficult, at least in the first week, getting an all-girls school qualifying to the 1-8 state, but we've seen a couple of them after the list of the high-scoring losing schools was compiled. Ibu girls, Kobo girls, Notre Dame girls, all of these ones, Archbishop Potter girls, all of these ones are there. Yeah. But what are the prospects for this year's competition? Last year was, I don't know.
Yeah. Like I always say, every year, my hope is that a girls' school will win. And if it's not a girls' school, probably a school from a less endowed area. So those are my people to win.
Like all of these wishes never happen.
I know. And a day has to happen. And because it also goes back to representation. That you can be from a so-called poorer area and still be intelligent and win the top when it comes to. So for me, that's the biggest issue. But yeah, the girls I moderated the regionals for the Western region, so the Western zone. And Archbishop Potter they were confident, and I love them for that. I've seen St. Louis, so I know the other schools from the Eastern region. So there are a lot of girls' schools this year. So this may just be the year.
Now let's take you through some lessons for this week on Joy Learning.
This week on Joy Learning, JHS lessons are from Monday to Friday at 5 p.m. with a repeat at 6:30 a.m. Monday, JHS 1, Science, Life Cycle of a Flowering Plant. Tuesday, English, Appreciating Prose. Wednesday, JHS 2, French, Future Tense. Thursday, JHS 2, ICT, Print a Word Processing Document. Friday, JHS 1, Maths, Set. JHS 3 Revision Show is on Monday to Friday at 6 p.m. with a repeat at 2 p.m. Monday, Social Studies, the Youth and Discipline. Tuesday, Mathematics, Properties and Polygons. Wednesday, ICT, Storage. Thursday, Integrated Science, Infectious Diseases. Friday, French, Possessive Pronouns. SHS 1 lessons are from Monday to Friday at 3 p.m. with a repeat at 7:30 a.m. and 12 p.m. Monday, English, Verbs. Tuesday, Biology, Microscope. Wednesday, Financial Accounting, Petty Cash Book. Thursday, Cost Accounting, Accounting for Material. Friday, Physics, Velocity. SHS 2 lessons are from Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. with a repeat at 8:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. Monday, Chemistry, Ionic Product of Water. Tuesday, Cost Accounting, Job Costing. Wednesday, Financial Accounting, Control Accounts. Thursday, English, Functional Types of Sentences. Friday, Biology, Work, Power and Energy. SHS 3 Revision Show is on Monday to Friday at 7:30 p.m. with a repeat at 10 a.m. Monday, Chemistry, Classification of Alkanols and their Reaction. Tuesday, Integrated Science, Mixture. Wednesday, Hallmarks, Vectors and Bearings in a Plane. Thursday, Physics, Vectors. Friday, Integrated Science, Cells. 2021 National Science and Math Quiz comes your way Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. For more videos on our lessons, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Joy Learning TV. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Joy Learning TV and on Instagram at Joy_Learning TV. Joy Learning at 1, celebrating a year of impactful television teaching and learning. Joy Learning. Keep learning.
That'll be all for Campus 360. Make time with us same time next week for another edition. I am Diana Nichiga.